it's the fact that you were able to go from being scared to not being scared,
Yeah,
and to
right.
push past all those fears and still successfully navigate while being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Welcome back to the Journey Coaching Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler.
And I am Adam.
Today on the podcast, I'm going to be interviewing Adam about life transition and change and handling getting out of your comfort zone, because Adam just recently graduated college and is now off to starting all kinds of new fun adventures.
Your life, your journey starts now.
If you haven't heard Adam before, he's our producer and also podcast guest extraordinaire for when one of us is usually sick or has a sick kid, between Dylan and myself. So, but Adam is just recently a college graduate, and what's your degree in? I'm forgetting.
So I just graduated this fall from Iowa State University with a bachelor's degree in civil engineering, and I picked up a minor of economics on the side, just to, spice up the palate a little bit, I suppose.
Nice.
But it was a long 9 semesters. Did a couple victory laps in some math classes because I did not pay attention enough. But we got there at the end of the day, and we learned what we needed to learn.
Nice.
So.
Nice. Yeah, every now and then you got to take a class a second time. It's okay. It happens to the best of us.
Hey, if you didn't enjoy it enough the first time, you got to go back.
That's right. You'll love it. You'll love college math the second time around. That's what they say, I've heard.
I tell you what, the second time I walked into I think it was differential equations, I dropped it the first semester. I was like, I don't have time for this.
Yep.
I don't have time for this. Picked it up the second semester, saw the same teacher. I went,
I don't have time for this
I
again.
still don't have time, but I can't drop it.
Right. You're like, I have to do this at some point.
So
That's tough. I mean, honestly, all of that sounds much more difficult than what I studied.
90% of college is showing up and putting in the effort.
Yeah,
and
that's a good
You'll
point.
do what you can do anyway.
That's a really good point. Yeah. So what has been the biggest change for you since graduating college?
I could go the easy route and say, well, I don't have to go to my 9 a.m.s anymore, or I don't have exams in a week or two that I have to cram for.
Right.
But really, it's just the change of lifestyle surrounding college. College is very much a preparatory for the real world, in a sense that you have your own responsibilities, you have your tasks to accomplish, but it is under a format that isn't comparable to what a real world business model would look like.
Right.
You're not going in for your 9 to 5, and then what was foreign to me and is still foreign to me is once I clock out of work, I don't have to worry about, for the most part, don't have to worry about, I have homework due at midnight.
Yeah. Right.
Leaving the classroom in college doesn't mean you're done for the day.
Yeah.
As much as you would like it to mean. Work and having that career path can allow for more separation between your personal life and your professional life. And I think that's something that I'm going to have to adapt to, but I'm excited to adapt to.
Yeah. Right.
So.
Yeah. I was thinking like the personal life, even let's say for somebody who is either in high school or in college right now, even at that level, what did you do to kind of keep yourself sane, or how do you separate personal life and school life and a job that you probably have to work on the side to help pay your bills or whatever? How did you stay sane, or just keep it all together and still have time to do some things that you enjoy while you're in college?
Well, college for the first year and a half is a big kick in the butt.
Yeah, sure.
Because you don't have the teachers or mentors of high school essentially, right there to back you up.
Yeah.
The professors in college, they want you to succeed, but they are very much, it is your initiative that will determine your success.
Yeah.
And so the first, year and a half, I really had to develop a routine to try and stay ahead of all the deadlines that you may see and may not see, and develop proper studying habits. But what comes with that is also the ability to separate yourself from it. You do it with any workout or think about any exercise whatsoever, you need rest. Rest is also a very important part, which is the kind of the question you're getting at here of
Yeah.
what do we do to keep us sane? And for me, it was being around the right kind of people. And that was pretty important to me. I developed good friend groups who, while they were engineers, it was more important to me that they had the same, what would you say? The same interests and hobbies outside of it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so when I went to go travel and play baseball, I was around people that understood, played baseball, and so that helped fill my social battery and just help recharge me during the week. For myself personally, I would go to school Monday through Friday. I would travel and I would play baseball on Sunday, and that was like it was like going to the ice cream shop and getting a treat for me. Just being able to go outside, get some exercise, get some sunlight, and just kind of refill myself, and that really helped me get through college.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's interesting if you go, for people who do, prescribe to a Christian view of the world, for someone who's a Christian, or even if you've read the Bible and you're not a Christian, or know about the creation story, God creates the world and then he rests. And it's interesting because you think, well, if you're powerful enough to create the whole world, why would you need to rest? And it's like, well, he didn't do it because he needed to. He did it to be an example,
Yes.
right? For us to understand, hey, human beings were not made to operate without resting. And in fact, like in resting, you will give yourself the ability to be more productive the rest of the time. Yeah.
yeah.
And I've told this story before. Like it's a true story about during the westward expansion, a group of people that was traveling that wanted to get to where they were going, which I believe was Oregon or Washington State. They wanted to get there before the winter came, and it was getting kind of down to crunch time, and they still weren't at their destination yet. And so they wanted to protect like having a day of rest, but some of them in the group said, we don't have time to rest, we have to keep going. And so the group split, and about half of the group went 7 days a week with no rest days. They just traveled. And then one group would travel 6 days a week, but they would take the seventh day and they would actually rest. And the group that rested ended up reaching their destination quicker than the group that went all 7 days, because that 1 day of rest allowed their animals that were pulling the carriages, and also just the people that had to walk, they had enough energy and enough like rejuvenation, I guess, that it allowed them to move quicker on the days that they were actually traveling.
And that would make sense. In college, for me at least, my engineering field, there was no shortage of work to be done.
Yeah.
And you very well could fill your days 7 days a week with stuff to do.
Right.
There's no shortage of that, and I guarantee there were people that did that.
Yeah.
I know some friends who would consider themselves workaholics, and I saw it by example.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost like part of me got to a point where I was seeing them go to the library every day, and maybe that was their form of rest. Maybe they find rejuvenation in the fact that they can go and they can sit in a quiet place and study.
Yeah.
Maybe that is a form of rest. It wasn't the form of rest for me, and that's really important. I had to find what worked for me.
Yeah,
right. My form of rest ended up being through athletics and sports, which it rested my brain, which was what actually needed the rest,
Yeah.
but my body wasn't resting in
Right.
a worldly manner.
Right. Rest doesn't have to mean sleep. Obviously sleep is good. We need it, but it doesn't have to be sleep, or it doesn't have to be staying in and not doing anything. Like something that's restful can be something active. Was it hard for you? I'm kind of backtracking a little bit.
Yeah.
Was it hard for you going into college? Like either, not even from the academic side, I mean more from like a personal side, like the transition to being a college student. Was that tough for you? Because I'll admit it was very tough for me, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I had, and it's no crutch whatsoever because everybody's transition is different.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to have a wonderful sort of pandemic going on when I
Oh, that's
when
right.
I transitioned.
I forgot that's yeah.
So what that did more than anything was lengthen the amount of time that I had to prepare for the transition.
Okay.
Because my high school ended the same way my college began.
Completely online.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So the only thing that really changed the first semester was where I was residing. I wasn't at home going to my local community college, going to my high school, because I did both. I was instead at a dorm with no air conditioning, loving the fact that the only time I could really get out was to go to the dining hall.
Yeah.
You know?
Gosh.
So that, on a personal level, it really messed up my schedule. And I will be honest, my grades as a freshman and a sophomore were not as good. I would argue for that reason.
Yeah.
And while the classes got harder towards the third and fourth year, I was more successful in those classes and felt like I retained more information simply because I had more tools and outlets to create a better work-life balance.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, being cooped up all day, for most, just does not work. Like, we need that social interaction. We need other people. Even if you're naturally introverted, there's still part of you that needs relationship with others, especially in a new place, because that building those relationships is part of, I think, what helps you feel comfortable in a place. Yeah. Familiar sights and sounds and smells helps, but really, I think when it comes down to it, like, having people around that you're comfortable with will help that, like, settling in, you know. And so when you're stuck in your dorm because you're not, there's no social events going on, and you're not even going to class, which is, at least in and of itself, kind of a social event, like, you're just cooped up. I didn't have a pandemic, and I still, like, struggled. I went into college, and I remember, like, my parents dropped me off. I got my stuff put away in the dorm, and then I was the first kid, and neither of my parents went to college, like, far away. They both, I think, if I remember, they both were still, like, living at home when they started college. And so all that to say, we didn't really know what the appropriate thing to do was on the day that you drop someone off at school. So they helped me get my stuff out of the car, and then it was like, okay, bye. And then I come to find out that a lot of people will your parents will, like, hang out with you that first day that you're there for part of the day, and then they'll leave. But I didn't know that, and my parents didn't know that, so they left. Yeah. And probably by that afternoon, I was just, like, panicking, like, oh my gosh, I'm in a completely new place. Yep. I'm in this building that today's the first time I've ever been here, and now I'm supposed to say that this is, like, my home base, like, those feelings for me, and being around people that I didn't really know. And I even had a leg up because the woman who's now my wife went to that college already. She was Bailey was ahead of me in school, and so I had all of these things that were helping me, and yet I still really struggled with oh my gosh, my whole life dynamic feels so different now, and I'm in a place that's unfamiliar, or I'm around people that are unfamiliar, and I've had to recognize within myself over the last few years, even up into, like, the birth of our first child, just I'm not great with change. I struggle to get out of my comfort zone. Yep. And so what's some advice that you would have for people that are thinking, whether it's going to college or entering the workforce or really any other life change? What would you say to somebody, as a person who's gone through a lot of life change in the last few years? How do you get comfortable being uncomfortable when it comes to things like that?
So I'll start almost with a broader sense of just when you feel that panic set in, which happens to everybody. When I was leaving college, the panic starts to set in of, well, what's next?
Yeah. What am I doing now?
The biggest thing that I had to do for myself was enforce patience and try to quiet what the panic is getting me to do, which is to make a decision and rush to find immediate comfort. Yeah. And while the goal would be to gain comfort in what you're doing, immediate comfort may not be that solution. Yeah. I'm a firm believer that there is a plan and purpose for each and every one of us. Right. And the true way we will find comfort is by doing what we set out to do and what we want to do. And so when the panic set in of me leaving college, my first instance was, well, now I got to find a job.
Yeah.
You know, how do I do that? And when you're job searching, or when you're choosing to go to college, like, there's so many situations where you can bite at the first opportunity.
Yeah.
Then you miss how many that could come
Yeah.
along.
Right.
And if it doesn't completely match what you want, then we were sitting here and we're like, I don't know, 6 months down the road, was this the right decision? Then
Yeah.
the regret sets in.
Yep.
And so that gets real tough, just because we were uncomfortable. And so we made the first move possible to regain comfort. So in my head, what I just had to keep telling myself was, it's okay to be uncomfortable. Everybody is here. Everybody that graduated in my class was at this point.
Right.
Now, they went on and maybe they found a job before graduation ended, but at the same time, then it becomes, there's so many factors, like going, where am I going to find a place to live? Can I afford to get a new car to travel to and from work, to commute? Do I have a friend group at this new location where I'm going to reside at? All those things are panic. Like, it's all based in this fear that you will not find what you need.
Yeah.
And so I would just I don't know how to put it. I would encourage patience, which is it's so against what your body is telling you to do.
Right.
Your body is telling you to react, but just to take a step back, try and see it through a level head. Use those resting strategies that you have had in the past, whether it be through high school or college, to help get your mind out of it. I graduated a week before Christmas, and so I told myself I will not think about any jobs or anything until after the holidays.
Yeah.
Because
right.
it will derail my holidays if I'm going to sit here and try and be stressed about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so I had to legitimately pull myself away from it, and I would catch myself thinking about, like, oh, where am I going to get an apartment? Where am I going to, like, all these things. I had to be like, no. And so that was the best advice I got, to sit back, because there is no better timing than God's timing.
Yeah.
And He will provide you with the right opportunities at the right time. It is up to you to sit back and take advantage of those opportunities when they're present.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, you touch on, like, the patient side. That's the biggest struggle, I think, for everybody, if I'm self-disclosing here, like, people who struggle to get out of their comfort zone at times is, man, I don't want to wait. Like, everything in me is saying, do what you have to do right now to get yourself back to that level of stability, of feeling stability. Yep. And so I really had to, I mean, it's kind of like exercising your muscles. Like, you're breaking things down in order to build them back up. And so for me, some of that is I have had to, within myself, and also surround myself with people that would help me to make small choices, or to do small things that would get me out of my comfort zone a little bit, knowing that I wasn't going to have to stay. Maybe that was something that was temporary, or that was something that was small, so that I could get back to that level of comfort afterwards, and then reflect on, like, oh, that really wasn't so bad.
The big learning, or the big achievement, it's the fact that you were able to go from being scared to not being scared, and to push past all those fears and still successfully navigate while being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. And so while I was job hunting, I had to teach myself patience and the ability to stay calm while being uncomfortable. Being unemployed was uncomfortable for me.
Absolutely.
I had to stay patient. I watched doors open, opportunities reveal themselves. I watched opportunities close. And through all of that, I had to remain patient and keep a level head. And by the time I felt like I was ready to address all that stuff, I feel like the right doors were open. There's always going to be regret and doubt on whether or not you made the right decision. But what you got to remember is, it doesn't matter what you chose yesterday. If there is regret, He will provide a way out.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. There's always a new decision that could be made to right that ship. And regret is just a tool for you to know, hey, did I make a decision that I was not ready for or uncomfortable with, or was it a decision that I made when I was not thinking clearly, or
Sure.
or did I not listen to the right did I listen to someone who was not for me?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of situations, all kinds of ways that regret or doubt could creep in. But regret has no hold on what tomorrow brings.
Yeah. And this really connects to why we're here, is it can be very helpful in reaching your destination, in knowing what your destination should be,
Yes.
by surrounding yourself with people who have your best interests at heart, people
That's
who
right.
have other life experiences, people who have their own wisdom in different ways. And so that's one of the reasons why we think relationships are so important. It's the reason the Journey Coaching materials exist, because we want to put people in those relationships that allow them to grow and to challenge each other, but also just to have somebody in your corner to say, hey, I'm really struggling with the decision, or I'm really struggling with this kind of fear. Sometimes it can just be very helpful to have somebody on the outside looking in who can speak into that, we encourage you, go grab a book or a couple books, grab a friend, grab some coffee if you're into that. But we really want to see those mutually beneficial relationships developed among people. And so if you are interested in that, go over to journeycoaching.org and check us out.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next time and make sure you like and subscribe. Visit us at journeycoaching.org and check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Start your own journey at journeycoaching.org.
Your life, your journey starts now.